Toyota CHR is a medium-sized crossover with a twist. Rather than build an obvious Nissan Qashqai rival, with all the family-friendly traits that entails, Toyota has chosen to marry the chunky stance of an SUV with a hybrid drivetrain, a sporty, swooping roofline and the looks of, quite frankly, the outlandish concept cars you sometimes see at motor shows. Its extraordinarily bold exterior is married to an interior that features equally surprising elements and, to top it all, Toyota has worked hard to give the CHR a much more satisfying driving experience than we are used to from this fundamentally sensible Japanese manufacturer. In fact, Toyota describes the CHR as a game changer for the brand. The coupe-SUV combination isn't unusual these days, but Toyota is the first to really bring this idea to the mainstream family crossover class, in some respects making the CHR a potential ideal follow-in car for people who have outgrown the similarly proportioned but much smaller Nissan Juke. Certainly, the CHR is a breath of fresh air compared with more conventional rivals such as the Qashqai, Renault Kadjar, Ford Kuga, Skoda Yeti and Kia Sportage, all of which also deserve a place on your shortlist. Toyota is hoping buyers will also consider it a worthy rival to more premium alternatives such as the Audi Q2 and Mini Countryman, too. Compromised, or is it? There are disadvantages to the shape, of course. Both rear headroom and boot space suffer by comparison, and the small amount of glass in the rear doors may lead to younger backseat occupants complaining of claustrophobia once they're old enough to know what the word means. Still, it is possible to get a couple of adults in the back three if they're really friendly, though the middle seat is very much of the occasional persuasion, and while smaller than rivals, the boot isn't tiny. It's a compromise you might be prepared to make if the rest of the package appeals. Novel hybrid appeal. The CHR plays the style card with impressive conviction, for a Toyota, and the hybrid drivetrain is a novelty in the crossover sector. This combination of 1.8-litre petrol engine and electric motor is borrowed from the latest Toyota Prius, as is the vehicle platform the CHR is built upon. This might not sound too promising, especially in reference to the driving pleasure claims. But not only do the Prius underpinnings give the CHR a lower than usual centre of gravity for a crossover, the whole project has been engineered in Europe for Europe, with particular attention paid to European driving habits. It's even been tested in the UK, and though we are yet to drive it here to verify the success of this process, our initial experience evaluating it in Spain has been positive. Limited engine choice, and no diesel. Around 75% of CHR buyers are expected to choose the hybrid. Any shock in this stat is lessened by the knowledge that there is only one other engine choice at launch, a 1.2-litre turbo petrol. Toyota is not offering, and has no plans to offer, a CHR diesel. It's actually more likely we'll see a higher performance petrol model further down the line. For now though, the 1.2 comes as a 6-speed manual with front-wheel drive and a CVT automatic with the choice of front or all-wheel, while the hybrid comes as a front-wheel drive with the same auto box only. There are 3 trim levels: Icon, XL and Dynamic. All are well equipped, with safety and technology heavily represented. CHR stands for Coupé High Rider, which is straightforward enough. But is it the game changer for Toyota that the car maker hopes it is? Power output from the 2 engines available in the Toyota CHR is very similar. The 1.2-litre turbo produces 116 horsepower, the 1.8-litre petrol-electric hybrid a combined 122 horsepower. As this suggests, performance is also evenly matched, with 0.62 miles per hour in the hybrid taking 11.0 seconds, while the 1.2 requires 10.9 seconds in its most basic and fastest front-wheel drive, manual gearbox guise. The automatic and four-wheel drive automatic versions of the 1.2 are slightly slower, but not so much that you'd notice day-to-day. Electric torque counts, however, because the electric motor produces 163 Nm of instant torque, almost as much as the 1.2-litre engine, and that's before the motor's 1.8-litre petrol partner makes its contribution. Once you're on the move, the hybrid often feels the more responsive choice. In some cases the 1.2 feels gutless. Keep the revs up, though, and you'll find a smaller petrol an eager companion. It even makes a pleasantly keen noise. Combined with the standard manual gearbox, this ultimately makes it the most engaging CHR if you like to go fast. Two interesting transmissions. The basic 1.2 is the only CHR that comes with a manual gearbox, yet this isn't quite your regular 6-speed. Toyota calls it the Intelligent Manual Transmission IMT, because it cleverly matches the engine revs whenever you change gear to make both upshifts and downshifts smoother. It also increases engine torque when moving away from a standstill for the same reason. Both features work almost imperceptibly, but very well. The automatic offered on all other versions, including the hybrid, is a continuously variable transmission. As is typical for a CVT, this is smooth, but the engine noise often doesn't correspond with the speed you are driving, which can be a strange sensation at first, sounding rather as if the clutch is slipping. We can see very little value in opting for the all-wheel drive option on the 1.2, this is not an off-road vehicle, and in regular road driving you are unlikely to see much benefit. Currently Toyota does not have a reputation for building keen drivers' cars, but it would like to change this. So for the CHR, a model that was conceived exclusively for the European market, it has expended a great deal of effort attempting to understand European driving traits and how they influence the development of vehicles from the region's brands. The end result is a Toyota that is much more satisfying from behind the wheel. What makes the CHR a better Toyota to drive? Attention to detail and a positive attitude, essentially. And by positive attitude we mean that it changes direction with keenness, rather than a reluctance you experience in, say, a Toyota Auris. To make such an amendment with a vehicle of the CHR's increased height is impressive, and shows how seriously Toyota plans to take driver involvement from now on. As for the attention to detail, this is evident in the consistent behavior of all the handling elements. The steering isn't overbrimming with feel and feedback, but it transitions very smoothly into cornering, with little of the numbness about the straight ahead you often experience with electrically assisted systems. Similarly, the suspension's damping is excellent, not only doing a great job of absorbing bumpy roads effectively but also controlling the way the CHR leans into turns, tilting gently rather than lurching. Toyota says it was aiming to deliver the handling enthusiasm of a competent hatchback. We'd hesitate to go quite that far in isolation, but for an SUV it acquits itself commendably, and can be placed on the road with great accuracy. In many respects, the inside of the CHR is more extraordinary than the outside, again, especially for a Toyota. Not only is the dashboard noticeably angled towards the driver, it feels rather lower and more spacious than you often find in crossovers. But most prominent of all is the Toyota Touch 2 infotainment screen, standard on every model, which sits proud at the leading edge of the dashboard in a distinctive asymmetrical frame. While this is a detail that appears to be lifted straight from the original CHR concept car, it works well in practice, placing what is a generously large screen high up in the driver's eyeline, making it easy to check without looking too far from the road. The bezel has fixed, touch-sensitive controls for ease of use, and we are happy to report these are responsive and frustration-free. Sat-nav is standard from middle-ranking XL trim. This has some neat features but struggled with clarity when challenged by Spain's, admittedly often complex, road systems on the initial launch event. Diamonds everywhere, much of the exterior is shaped to make you think of diamonds, and reinforcing this message there is a diamond motif throughout the interior, from the shape of the button clusters on the steering wheel and below the infotainment screen to the unusual cutouts in the roof lining. It gives the CHR a design consistency that has often been lacking from Toyota interiors. Won't be for everyone. Toyota is taking a bit of a risk with the CHR's interior, however. The design is so bold that it will potentially put off more conservative buyers, especially when dressed with a bright blue and dusky purple trim standard on the top-spec dynamic model. More muted choices are available. We like the layered design to the dashboard and the diamond-patterned door inserts, even if these are rather hard to the touch. But there are still large swathes of bland-looking plastics, which do make the intricacies elsewhere seem a little tokenistic. While we are yet to test the CHR in the UK, Toyota has done development work on the car here, and promises that the particular challenge of our roads has been taken into account. Comfortable ride, indeed, on the rougher sections of Spanish tarmac we encountered during the launch event. The shock absorbers exhibited a fine ability to deal with bumps quickly and comfortably. The CHR's platform has been reinforced in key areas with the aim of making it especially rigid, which helps in these circumstances. It does also make for a rather heavy vehicle, though, with even the most basic 1.2-litre model weighing 1,320 kilograms, and the hybrid 60 kilograms more. Our only criticism here is that the CHR tends to shake laterally very slightly when driving over straight bumpy roads. This is a result of the relatively thick anti-roll bars, so it's a trade-off between handling and ride comfort, but it's also not a big cause for concern. Fundamentally, this isn't an uncomfortable car. Refinement, once up and running, both versions of the CHR are quiet on the move, with even the limited amount of wind and road noise especially, depending on the surface, making the engine almost imperceptible. The hybrid can, however, operate on electric power alone for short distances, giving it the ultimate advantage in this area, particularly useful if you have sensitive neighbors but often need to leave home early or return late. It is whisper quiet enough electric vehicle mode. Which wheel size is best? We spoke to one of the chief development engineers, who reckon the heavier hybrid was best on 17-inch wheels, while the sportier 1.2 enjoyed 18-inch wheels. The hybrid felt slightly softer overall to us, so don't think there's major cause for worry either way, which is good news given that all but the intra-level trim come with 18-inch alloys as standard.